Hello viewers, you are welcome to Let's Talk About. Let's Talk About is a real understanding of social issues that bothers us as Christians. You are welcome to this week's edition. Today, we are discussing preparing for retirement. And on today's episode, our guest is in the person of Captain Retired Andy Sam. Captain Retired Andy Sam is a member of Trinity United Church Legon. He is also a life skills consultant and a live member of Full Gospel Businessmen's Fellowship International. He is also an author of various books, which we have some here. And just like to show you, we have Living the Triumphant Life, as well as Living the Triumphant Life from Purpose to Peace and Prosperity, as well as His Purpose, My Destiny. His Purpose, My Destiny. Okay. I'd like to remind viewers that we are streaming live on our social media platforms. Send your comments and questions on both Facebook and YouTube, Trinity United Church Legon. You can also send your comments and questions to our WhatsApp number 050-1579-996. The number is 050-1579-996. And I'm Stephen Arthur Eduseisen, and I'll be your host for tonight's show. Once again, Captain, welcome to today's episode.
Thank you. Good evening, viewers.
Good evening. I'd like to ask, what is retirement all about?
Our vice president once said that, when he was in opposition, once said that when the fundamentals are weak, the exchange rate will expose you. Similarly, when your life plan is weak, which includes retirement, then obviously when your life plan is weak, your retirement plan is also going to will expose you. And basically your retirement is, if you like, what the French call poubelle, the bin. So all our lives comes to bear, the evidence of it comes when we are in retirement. If you plan well, your retirement will be fulfilling. Today's topic really is about fulfilling retirement. It's not just about retirement, it's about how you can enjoy retirement.
Okay. So in your words, what will you say is a fulfilling retirement?
Fulfillment. In one of my books, I write about success and fulfillment. And all our lives are geared towards being successful. But when a lot of people come to my retirement planning, which I've been doing for about 25 years now, when you speak to them, you realize that their ladder of success has been on the wrong wall. They've been climbing up the wrong ladder or the wrong wall of success. And really what they need to do is live the life that they were born to live, which is what brings fulfillment. And that life is the Creator's reason for creating you. Once you find that, you will arrive at a place of retirement where you are ready, therefore, to meet your Maker. Because when you get to retirement, there's a time to prepare to meet your Maker.
Okay, that's great. Also, usually when we hear the word retirement, we have a lot of linkage to money. Is there more to retirement? Is there more to it than just money, like you're saying?
Absolutely. Okay. The richest people you find them in Hollywood, but they are miserable because success is what they have been focusing on, forgetting that. Then in one of these books, I talk about a lady called Sally Mulikin, and I ask the same question to everyone who's listening. Do you know the life that you were born to live? And this is what Sally Mulikin said, a great renowned violinist. He says, my life looked wonderful on the outside and felt awful on the inside. I had all the trappings of success. The only thing missing from this picture was the real me. I felt depressed and unfulfilled, yet unable to justify my feelings. I hope I'm speaking to somebody who's listening to me.
You are. So who is retirement actually for? Because we hear a lot, when we hear retirement too, we link it a lot to the corporate world, and we leave out maybe the everyday market person or the youth, for example. So who is really retirement for?
It's a misnomer. It's believed that you know, because there's a law that says that at 60 you must retire. But I retired at 45. That's one law you can break and nobody can arrest you. You can choose to retire early. And obviously, if you plan well, then you can retire early. But the other thing too is that the market woman they are talking about is not in the corporate world. So he doesn't have to retire. There's no legal corporate rule that requires him to leave, him or her to leave his or her post. And therefore, he can work throughout. The fact of retirement doesn't mean that you sort of fold your arms and you sit down, you don't do anything. In fact, I encourage people to be busy. My sons tell me that I'm busier now than when I was working full time because I'm doing the things that I love to do. I'm doing things out of love. And if you are able to plan your life in such a way that the things that you do for free, you get paid for it, then you're going to have a very good retirement.
That's nice. That's nice. So why do we have to prepare for retirement as individuals?
Because there is, as a young person, and as you go through, let's say you start life at the age of maybe 20, you have 40 years, and those 40 years, you have periods where you start with a lot of energy. You're strong to do so many things. 40 years on, there are things that you cannot do at 60, that you can only do at 20 or 30 or 40. And therefore, you need to make sure that you're doing at 20, you're doing the things that requires you to do at 20. You cannot start doing the things you should do at 40 when you're at 60. This is why we all need a life plan. Life plan is very important because life plan takes care of a whole lot of issues. And within the life, there's a finance, there's a family, there's career. We are all seriously chasing and planning our careers, forgetting that career does not stay in a vacuum. There's a life before career. And therefore, you have to look at the whole perspective. But because we don't have the wherewithal to be able to do that kind of planning, we focus on the short term. So we run all our life. People come to me at the age of 50, 60, 55, 50, and and really they're scared of retirement. And when we come to some of the practical experiences, I'll share with you some people's fear that it brought to some of my workshops.
Okay. In your submission just now, you said there's a lot that goes into it before the retirement itself, and that the youth or young people should start preparing some things. Would you like to touch on some of the things that the youth can start preparing on?
Yes, anybody who is actually doing that, there are certain things that you must do. First of all, our workshop content is holistic, meaning that we go beyond. I'll mention some of those things. And some of the things that we do here is that we start with your concerns and expectations. People come to my workshop. Why are you here? A lot of them with fear. But a lot of them, they don't know exactly what it is. So you have to specify exactly what it is. You have to help them define what they want to get out of that. And basically, we try to create this concept that you can predict your future by creating it. Whatever I'm doing now, I told my son 25 years ago what I was going in a football pitch in Senegal when I was living there in 1998. And exactly what I'm doing is exactly what I told him. So you can actually predict your future by creating it. That's number one. The second thing is that you have to understand that there are certain concepts and objectives. Retirement is a time for new beginnings. The things that you want to do, you wanted to travel somewhere for a long time, you haven't not been able to do it. There's a business idea that you want to change society, you want to change the world. Retirement is a time when you can actually put into practice, because whilst you're working, you are constrained by career, family, and other things. Now, when the family leaves home and you are free and your time is yours, and your whole, if you plan properly, your whole money is yours, you can get up and go and do things that you really want to do. Maybe you want to write a book, you never had the time to. It took me, my autobiography, I had the title in 1991, but I only wrote it from 2020. It took me the last 2 years to write it. So that's another thing. Then obviously for retirement as well, there's psychological, health, and social and family impacts. The health impact is that the greatest health issues come to you when you're older. True. So for everybody who's listening to me there, your lifestyle, your hereditary diseases will be pronounced when you are in your older ages. So it helps to be aware of that. Then there are social things as well. I've played hockey for a long time. In my older, maybe 10 years ago, I was playing hockey. They passed me a ball and I chased it and I couldn't reach it. And then somebody said, "Hey, and this pioneer." See, I could see the ball and I'm running as fast as I can, but I'm going backwards. That's sort of thing. So then you also have the family impact as well. All of a sudden you have a full house and then they leave home. What do you do with your time? Those issues we talk about, the first 25 years of a family, and then the power construct that goes within that. Then obviously, retirement is just a transition. It's change management, and therefore we help you to plan before, the during, and after. And I must state here for all the viewers that we have to realize that even when you are dead, your responsibilities still remain. And if you're a Christian, you know our Lord and Master left, but he left the Holy Spirit to help us to carry on. And therefore, that brings me back to, making sure that lifestyles may change, but still you're still responsible. Then we have, when you go on retirement, shall I work or shall I do nothing? I think you should do something. Okay. Question is, what do you do? Should you work for money? If you have planned well and money is not the main thing, then it's not a big issue. But if you are not financially strong, then you'll be forced to go and do things that you don't really want to do, when you should really be enjoying your retirement and having fun and doing the things that you fail to do whilst you're working full time. So it's better to consider all those things. And people will ask me also about, it is better at the time to work for yourself. You've worked for someone for 40 years. It's time for you to work for yourself. So we talk about micro enterprise development. Then obviously we talk about personal financial planning. Whilst you are working full time, your greatest expenses will come in real estate, in education for your children. But when you retire, your greatest expense will come in your health. So you need to have the right balance. And it is always dangerous for anybody to come to retirement old, sick, and poor. You can't afford to be old. You can afford to be old. You probably can afford to be sick, depending on your lifestyle, but you cannot afford to be poor. Because when you're sick and old and you are poor, you don't get a bad medical advice. And therefore, life is not really enjoyable. Even when you have plenty of money. And if we have enough money, you can always buy the best medical care. And you can sustain and enjoy your life. Then we have the spiritual dimensions. Like I said earlier, we treat the spiritual dimensions because retirement is your last stop before you meet your maker. If you have not met him before, then it's about time you start thinking about that. So we bring that issue forward, and then we start to make you aware that you need to be thinking about that. And then we give you a few Bible passages of what the Bible says about retirement and transitions. And then we help you to develop your personal retirement plan. And we go through the 12 things you must do that are critical you must do before retirement. So it's a whole thing. It's a whole 2-day program that we are compressing into this short discussion.
Wonderful. So as Christians, we definitely need to think about our spirituality and link that to retirement as well. So I would like for you to touch more on it, how we can actively prepare spiritually for our retirement.
Okay. There are 5 or 6 things that I usually discuss with my delegates. And it's to do with, if I can find the page. First one is time to prepare to meet your maker. Okay. And there are some particular verses. And Ecclesiastes 12:12-14, it says, at the end of the matter, only one thing matters. Okay.
Sure.
It's to fear God and then obey his commandments. When all is said and done, so that is very critical. Okay. Then Isaiah also has a passage that says, seek the Lord whilst you are young. And then we have Proverbs 29:18. where there's no vision, the people perish. So you must have that. Somebody has brought you into the world. The Creator has created you to do. The first question you should be asking is that, what have I been created to do? If you are going to give an account at the end to your Creator, and you don't know exactly the mission and the vision that He's giving you, on how are you going to base the account?
True.
So you have to start thinking about that. Then there's also a question of seeking God. And Colossians 3:1-4 has a passage beautiful. Set your affections on things above. So that everything, even your business, how you choose the business, your partners and everything, is God will link to exactly what it is that God is asking you to do. All right? That is why this second book, I wrote this second one about from purpose to peace and prosperity.
Yes.
It starts with purpose. It's about a model of 10 P's. It starts from purpose, then passion, okay, then partnership. So what is it that God is asking you to do? Do it with passion. Love the Lord thy God with all thy heart and with all thy soul.
Okay.
Then make sure that because you have the purpose and passion, then naturally you must have a relationship with God. You must walk with Him. And then once you have the vertical relationship, He will direct you out to the horizontal relationship, who your partners should be, who businesses, where you should go. Then the fourth one is product. Once you have the three in place, the Bible says that one can put to flight 1,000, but two can put to flight 10,000. I think it's Deuteronomy chapter 30. So if God is your partner, how can you fail? All right? Success is guaranteed. Fulfillment is guaranteed. Then the fifth one is place. There is a place of divine assignment for all of us. When you find it, everything you do, everything you touch will turn to gold. When you miss it, all your weaknesses will be so obvious, so exacerbated that you cannot find happiness.
Wow.
Divine assignment is very, very, very key. Places play a very good key component of God's plan. He made places before He made people. He created Eden before He created Adam. So we should be very, very sure of that. Then finding and using wisdom. Here I talk about from vision to supervision to provision. When you seek God and God is in your vision, He automatically provides a supervision, and therefore that leads to provision. So from vision you go to supervision, and from supervision you go to provision. And the vision will allow you to live purposely, and the supervision will, Psalm 91, will really lead you. Protection will come through that.
True.
And then in terms of provision, we have Ephesians 3:20-21, or Philippians, I can do all things but through Christ who strengthens me. So you're already armed with all these things as you walk, as you go through life. But also, there are responsibilities before and after death. That's the fourth item to do with spiritual issues. 1 Timothy 5:8. If you don't take care of your household, you are worse than an infidel. Here the message is, if you're a man and maybe you bring a child into the world, it is serious to just turn your back on the child, and because God has given you. Some people are looking for things like children they don't get. So even if you don't believe that the child is yours, the least you could do is to try and provide sustenance for the child, because that blessing will come back to you. Then we have 2 Corinthians 12:14-15. This one I have a problem with. People, when I talk to men's fellowship and women's fellowship, they always argue with me everywhere I go. It says that children should not put in store for their parents, but the parents should spend and be spent for their children. Basically, which means that, we in our culture, we have this issue that,
True.
in this particular context, some of the kids, you can't even, when you have a child, you convict yourself to financial imprisonment for 30 years. So if the child doesn't have a job, how can he look after you? So if even you are 100 years old and your child is 80 years old, you are still responsible spiritually for the child, to providing for that. It's your job to do that. Then obviously we have, the Proverbs 13:32, that it's not enough to even to provide for your children, but you provide for your children's children. Okay?
Yeah.
Then the last one, a couple of ones, relevant legacy. Jesus did not live as a house or a building. All He did was He lived as the Holy Spirit. So your legacy should be spiritual legacy is more important. The values, the ethics, the things you put into your children. All right. Legacy are the things that you put into your children. Inheritance are the things that you give them. Inheritance can be fought, can be dissipated, can be destroyed. Family, violence and family conflict can take it away. But the things that you put into your children can never be taken away. And therefore, we must concentrate more in making sure that we give them those kind of relevant values. If your child has a challenge and you are gone, and he remembers what daddy, he asks the question, if my father or mother were here, what would he do? Then it means that you have given him the relevant legacy and not inheritance, not material inheritance. The last one is effective handover, and I love this. Ecclesiastes 2:18-21 says, a wise man may leave all to a fool. You don't want to do that, do you?
Not at all.
So you have to make sure that you do an effective handover. And this is exactly what Jesus did in John 21. He asked Peter, feed my lambs, tend my sheep, feed my sheep. That's the last words. That is the response we give to Peter. The same thing you should give to your children as well. Yeah. They should also look after the generations that is coming. So those are the 6 things that normally we talk about as spiritual issues. Just to make sure that you don't leave the workshop thinking only about how you're going to survive, how you're going to eat, how you're going to sleep, but also that you have somewhere to go.
Okay. This is very enlightening. Captain, in your submission, you mentioned how it's very important to know why you're here, and also place is very key. Because I heard this, I read it somewhere that it's better for you to climb a building to the very top to know that you're on the right building, rather than getting to the wrong building and knowing that you should have been on the other building, right? So I just wanted you to elaborate more on how purpose is linked to retirement, and why we should take it personal, and how we can actually identify purpose in this life here.
Wow, you have 3 days. I started by saying that some people come to my workshops over the past 25 years, and their ladder of success is on the wrong wall.
Sure.
People in Hollywood are very successful, but they are miserable. I have been to Mauritania. I've worked in Francophone West Africa. I've worked with some of the poorest people in the world, but they have been the most happiest people, fulfilling people that I've come across. They have very little, but everything they have, the little they have, they're prepared to give it to you. Now that shows the quality of fulfillment that they have, that their happiness doesn't come from the things that they have. So unless you are seeking fulfillment, then you drive yourself through that. And there are people who have come to my workshop as well. One example is somebody came to my workshop 2011, and he was 58 years old. His firstborn is 13 years old. Secondborn is 8 years old. Lastborn is 3 years old.
Wow.
Good. I rest my case. I mean, it's obvious.
Yeah.
For the 2 days that he was with me, he cried the whole 2 days. There's another lady who also was sent a letter. Those days, the program was 3 days. The first day, she never showed up. She came the middle of the second day. Then I asked her, Madam, why have you missed the first day? She said, when they sent me the email to come to this thing, I thought I was going to die. People have this idea that retirement, all right, is a prelude to death. If you haven't prepared well, then obviously the stress of it all is going to bring you down. The key thing here to say is that most of the evaluation that we do at the end of every course, majority of it, 90% of people who write say that I wish I had heard you 20 years ago. Every workshop that we've done, every workshop. So it shows, because I work with corporates, what I try to do is that once I have that, I send the report to corporate management. Then I recommend that we should bring it back. Instead of bringing 50-year-olds and 55-year-olds, usually 55-year-olds to me, why don't you go back to 35-year-olds? And then we go to 25-year-olds, people who have just sold, and also to include retirement planning as part of induction, so that immediately they start work, they start thinking about that. Because if you're going to do a business in 40 years' time, if you're going to do a business in the future, you can go anywhere and then raise funding. But if you have 40 years and you start putting even 10 cedis a day, 10 cedis a month, compound interest within 20 years will make you a rich man. Then you cannot use that. So you need to project, have people have that vision. The other thing too is that I've met people who have said that, who have gone to retirement and falling on bad times. And they've said that, Onyami Ambomi, God didn't treat me well. When they have failed to plan properly. Because this God we serve, he gives us a heart to believe, but he gives us a mind to think as well. Sometimes we don't. We think that belief is okay. That was not how our master worked. Even though he did his believing part, he always also put in, he could have stayed in heaven and prayed us all into heaven. But he did the work that is necessary. So we have to realize that we also have to do our bit. So if I'm doing a session with Zenith Bank on financial planning, okay, I've done about, 2 sessions. There's a third session coming 2 weeks' time. And bankers, their management is asking me to help them to use their money wisely. Financial planning is part of this thing. So I've taken that set, and it's very interesting. I mean, it's supposed to be a 3-hour program, but it can take 6 hours because everybody has so many questions, not knowing exactly where to put their money. And then you look at the economic situation in this country, and it's very difficult for people. That's the more reason why you should plan, because things are not certain. The future is not certain, which means that you need to be very resilient in everything you do, because the future is the future for our children. It's not guaranteed.
This
I've answered your question.
you have, Captain. You have. Yes. So there are still more questions that are coming up. One is to do with the financial planning, like you said, you are having with the banks, right? I'd like to know a little bit more. If there are actionable steps that people can follow, to ensure that you can get that done.
It is. I don't know how to put this. It is not realistic to do a financial plan without a life plan.
Okay.
Because I'm an accountant. I was schooled in activity-based costing. If I didn't get home to come here, I don't have to burn petrol. So every activity that you do causes you to spend money. So you have to plan those activities first, which is part of the life plan, and prioritize them. And then that then forces you, therefore, to spend the money that you need to. That way you'll be spending the money wisely. So first of all, you must have a whole life plan. If you ask me like this, to ask you to come to me for career planning, financial planning, I won't do that. So with Zenith Bank, I start them with a life plan. What is your motivation? Where do you want to be 60 years from now when your income is low? In retirement, your income is going to be lower than what you're earning full time. Assessment will give you what, your last 3 years salary, and it's peanuts, really. So sometimes the money they give you will not even be enough to buy you a petrol for the month, looking at the kind of economy this week. So you need to do wealth creation. You need to have at least 3 different levels of income generation. Everybody needs to do that. When you go on pension, you need to have 3 pensions.
3. Sure.
The universal pension, provident fund, and then personal pension. To be able to maintain the lifestyles you had whilst you were working full time. Then there's also another aspect to it as well. Those of the men and the people who have children late, it's very dangerous in the sense that every child you have convicts you to 30 years of financial imprisonment. So when I do my program, I ask somebody, so I have 6 children, I say, you are in prison for 180 years.
Sure.
Okay?
Yeah.
So we don't know the consequences of these things, and then we do all these things, and then it creates problems for us. So life plan is very, very important. Then from there, you allocate the funding, you do the planning, financial planning for that. Many of us are doing financial planning without actually taking the steps back. And we are doing the same thing for career as well.
Wow. Okay. So, hello viewers. I'd like to remind you that we are still streaming live on our social media platforms. Send your comments and questions on both Facebook and YouTube at Trinity United Church Legon. You can also send your comments and questions to our WhatsApp number 050-1579-996. The number is 050-1579-996. We'll take a quick break. We'll be back shortly. Thank you. Welcome back, viewers. Don't forget to send your comments and questions on both Facebook and YouTube. The channel is Trinity United Church Legon. You can also send your comments and questions to our WhatsApp number 050-1579-996. We will take, so we continue with the session, and just wanted to mention this book, His Purpose My Destiny. It's one of the books written by our guest today, and it's on his life story. It talks a lot about his beginning times and the entire journey throughout his life. And it's one book that I recommend that we should all get and read because it's really life changing. It will help a lot of things. Yeah. Yes, it's also available. Yes, and you can contact Captain. His details will be made available when needed. Thank you. So, Captain, thank you once again, and I just wanted to continue with the discussion that we're having on retirement. Earlier, you mentioned or you spoke about the spiritual aspect and also the financial aspect, and how it's important to have a life plan. Now, I want you to elaborate more on the aspect of family and home when it comes to retirement and how someone can prepare for that.
Retirement can have a very, very serious impact on family life. And it's like, it's surreal. You don't realize it until. Imagine it starts, you are maybe a managing director. You have all the trappings of office. Like the centurion said, I tell this one to go and he goes, and come and he comes. And you order people around. Whilst you're away, you have a minister of home affairs who takes care of the home.
Sure.
Then you come to retirement and you come home and you want to boss and change things. A couple of my friends, even in their 70s, have ended up divorcing. So the thing is that the message out there is that no matter how lucrative your job is, remember that when you finish retirement, you're coming back home. So don't burn your bridges. And we had an experience when I used to live in Tema, and my father was alive, and I used to visit them. And I go there, and one gentleman called me, said, Taki, he will come. And then they live next door, and I watched. He had nothing to do because all the time he worked away from home. He never established friendship with the wife at home. So staying in the same house for 24 hours was too much for him. So early in the morning, he would pick his bike and he would say, my dear, meaning, my dear, I'm going. And then he would go. Then in the evening, he would come back, my dear, bye. And one day I followed him. I took the trotro that this was when I was doing research for this project.
Okay.
He goes all the way to Watto Club at General Post Office, business area. He will walk the whole length to the ministries and back till 5 o'clock, then he comes home.
Wow.
Yeah. And there are issues, many families find those kind of issues. So my message to our usually the men who actually go there and bring the bacon is to make sure that, you're going to go back home. Sure. So prepare it before you go. Number two, and when you go, don't try to go and use macho. Somebody's in charge. IGP is there. So make sure that when you go, you fall into what the IGP says.
Yeah.
The second thing is to do that is the dynamics that happen. For me, as a counselor, my experience has always been that the marriage environment is it's about control. Okay, we have normally what happens is that brings conflict is that the man takes her. We are individualistic, so we think of our own comfort first. The woman also has his own objectives. Sometimes we think about the children. So what happens is that the first 25 years, the man, is in charge. You have money, you have power, you have everything. Even when it comes to punishment, the wife will say that, the mother will say that, wait till the daddy comes, you see what he'll do to you. So you are sort of regarded as some horrible person, who only gives punishment. So when you give money, you give punishment, you do all those things. All right. Then eventually, the first 25 years it happens. Then the kids grow and then they leave home. Now, what happens in the home is that the mother is the one who takes after the children. You, the man, you go to work. You are so focused on bringing the baking, hunting and bringing and making money and things like that. You don't bond even with your children. I've spoken about the wife one.
Yeah.
but then the children as well. So in your old age, you have no friendship with your children. So the men out there, it is easy for the wives to bond with the children because they feed them all the time. They nurture them, they feed them. So they're almost there. And naturally, usually, the children will go to the mother to ask them for things if they want to ask the father. You, the father, has got to go beyond paying school fees and doing those things. Find something to do with them. What I did with my children, they are both professional footballers now. They've retired, but they're still in football business. I created sport as the no-go area between me and my children. That's why we bond. I coach their school. I coach this soccer team. I've been with them all through, even when they were professional footballers. So that bonding is established even up to now. And I see my sons doing the same thing with my grandchildren. You need to do that. Then when the children leave home, normally the wife, when they have children, they'll say, Mommy, come and look after the baby for a while. Then you, the man, you are left alone. I have many of my colleagues who are on their own. Trouble is, I always tell the wives that when I married you, that was not part of the contract. You go and look after my grandchildren. So you need to be aware of all these dynamics that families coming. Now, if you rule your home with a very strong hand, then what happens is that the children and then the mother, okay, who all see themselves as victims, okay, will gang up against you. Therefore, you need to be very, very diplomatic, and you need to, play your cards well, because at the end, if you don't take care, it is quite normal for your children to come home and give mommy 10,000 cedis and give daddy 5,000. I hear it happens a lot. All right? Why? You shouldn't let that happen. But even to that extent, what I'll say is that don't even get to a situation where you depend upon even on your children. Make sure that in your retirement, you have enough to take care of yourself. Please remember that giving your children a home, education, the best education, you've done enough. Retirement, take care of yourself. Because nobody can take care of yourself the best way you want. If you have money, you want to go to hospital, and the hospital is 5-star hospital, go and pay for it yourself. Because if somebody is paying for you, they'll take you to 1-star hospital. Okay, so take care of all this. So that family impact is very key. What is the next one?
So the next question, it's on
Life plan.
No, the life plan will be at the end.
Okay.
But the next is on health.
Okay.
Right. It will be a nice follow-up from the home.
We spend, when we are young, we spend money to put things in our bodies, and then when we are old, we spend money to get it out. Wouldn't it be nice just to make sure we don't put those things in our bodies in the first instance?
Sure.
So lifestyle is very important. But you see, we don't think about these things until 40. When you start having problems. Your problems start from about 40 years, your problems start. They start with the eye. Me, I'm not a medical man, but I used to deal in supplements.
Okay.
And I know that, that's where it starts. Most people from 40 years, they start to notice their eyes fail. Everybody out there who's 40 years, so go and do an eye test. You'll be surprised what you see. When I did my eye test, I came out from the optician's surgery, and I got my first glasses. I look outside and I said, wow, God's world is so beautiful. I didn't know it was that beautiful. So that's the first thing. And then obviously, you take care of other things as well. Somebody will say something will kill you. Yes, something will kill you, but when you go in retirement, you want to enjoy retirement as well. And if you have serious health issues, okay. So your health challenges will be there. But if you have the wherewithal, you can buy the best medical care. So please put money aside. Key. Put money aside for your medical care and buy the best medical care you can have. I had to do an operation on my spine about 6 years ago, and I met a lady. I did it in Germany. I went to Germany and did it. Somebody did it in this country, all right. And we met in the same home of our hosts. We live in the same, And she said, but Andy, you just had the operation. I was in rehab for 2 weeks at the hospital. He said, how do you are walking, you're jogging? And I said, yes. And I said, what's your problem? He said, I've had mine for about 2 years, and I've had to come for reconstructive surgery. So buy the best. When it comes to health, make sure you have enough money to buy the best. Okay? You cannot prevent everything from happening. But when it happens, make sure that you can afford to take care of yourself.
Yeah. Okay. So we have a comment from Juliana Apiajima, and she says, I like the version, be on your own and do what you want to do after retirement. Okay, that's a nice comment coming in.
Yeah.
Yes. So Captain, when you were also speaking, there was a lot of discussions for the men who are coming home. What of the women who are already at home in preparations for them?
The women are already in control. I mean, the men have gone out there to come home. They already are, they don't have to. They are not coming home. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
Except that I'm speaking from a traditional point of view.
Yes.
The normal, But now that we have women also working full time,
Exactly.
I think the same thing applies to them as well. Okay. Don't make your career. Make sure you find time to bond with your offsprings.
Okay.
Create a moment for them. And the way that I used to do is that I used to take them. I'll get in the morning. I said, "Hey guys, what do you want to do?" This was even when they were about 5, 6, 7 years, 8 years old. And we just put everybody's needs into it, and we go and have fun. Sometimes one of the things that I also add, please, if you have young children growing up, the best way to train a child, the best way to educate a child is travel. Travel.
So why will you say that?
Yeah. Travel is that you take people out of your comfort zone. All right? Take people out of it, then it forces them to adapt. The world is a global village.
Yeah.
So let the children feel comfortable meeting people, we're doing different things. And in one of these books, this book is about the creation story. It's about the principles God used to create the world. And it's about 6 days of creation. And the revelation that I had was that each day is equivalent to 10 years of our life. So 60 days, God put man he's finished his work. Anybody who is 70 is retired. That is when God also did. And you retire to do the sanctification work. All right? That's why I said that retirement is the last stop before you meet your maker. You do the blessing work, you do the things that bring fulfillment, and how you actually become significant and give your life to people. That is what God did. Okay? And basically what it is that the first 10 years, okay, expose the kid to many things, because you don't know what sort of talent. When we were growing up, to go and play football, you come home, there's a kid waiting for you. When my kids came home to celebrate my father's 80th birthday, he looked at them and he asked them, "So your daddy takes you in a car and takes you to go to football?" They say, "Yes, Grandpa." And my father started to cry. You see how the thing has changed completely. So, and through that, I was able to identify that they have talent for music, which my grandfather had, and I also had, and also they have talent for sports. And I sort of mentored them into the areas that they wanted to be. And they've grown up into very happy. One of them is working in UEFA. The other one is a football, one up and coming young football broadcasters in the US. So you need to steer them into the things, knowing very well that the creator's reason for creating them is their purpose. Let them find it, and it's your job to make sure that you create opportunities for them to achieve it. During our time, we go and play football. There was even a fight between my mother and my father. My father said, "One more ball and play the football till you go abroad." Those days, these are Kobolos who play football. Trunks.
Yeah.
You see, but now you look at the money that is in football. Everybody wants their child. Every day I have people calling me to put their children in football. Then the day that me and my brother we were on the front page with General Kutu Achampo, the head of state, we were going to Malaysia to play the World Cup. He took the picture, and when I showed my father, I said, "Says one more boy on you say you should play football and go to abroad. You see, they are going abroad. Aren't you ashamed now?" So allow the kids find out exactly what purpose God has instilled in them, and then try to help them. That is the role of a father, is to create opportunities for their children, and the same thing for the mother as well. So let's find time The trouble with a lot of this undiscipline in this country and the world, parents are not spending time with the things that for 90% of their week, I am with my children. Their free time, I mean. Either I'm coaching their school football team, or weekends we're going to play football together. So, or we are going to church or doing things together. And most of the things we do as a family. So it's very important that you nurture them in that way.
That's nice. We have another comment from George Eduama, and he says, more to learn as young people from today's topic. And a question from Derek Ejsika, and he says, how do I calculate how much I must have before I retire? And assume I want 5 million at retirement. That's from Derek.
Derek, it's very simple. Come to me, I'll do a life plan for you, and I'll charge you a lot of money. And then I'll work it out for you. But basically, you do a life plan first. Okay. And usually, for example, if I take you, for example, maybe you're about 30 years old. And I say, okay, where would you be 30 years from now? So we list all the things, and we go through all the areas in terms of family, in terms of finance, in terms of career, in terms of all those things. And then I want to be this, I want to be that, I want to be that, I want to be that, I want to be that. Then that will determine exactly how much money you should plan for that. Then we'll start to work out exactly how it goes. So again, the activities in your life plan will determine exactly how much you should be saving. And you see, you can also project. You can go to the internet and take out compound interest formulas. And you can therefore use that to project exactly how much you are going to need. If you save maybe 5 cedis every month, and you use a certain level of interest rate, what would the compound interest be 40 years from now? So it gives you an idea. It's not exact, but forecasting, knowing exactly what you need to do is the first step. So you don't misuse. For example, I started this. I bought my first piece of land at the age of 22. By 27, I bought my first house. All right. And from then on, I remember when I was going to sell one of my houses at the age of 20. My father said, Governor, I done so what on? How can you sell a house? I said, I done is like tomatoes. You buy and sell. And it wasn't there. So when you start doing that, you have a certain platform that allows you, therefore, to go on into the world and do other things as well. So the vision is very important. There are things you must do. You know you are going to need somewhere for your family to stay in. Don't waste your money. And the time that I did all these things, my salary was 58 cedis a month.
58? Wow.
Okay. So it is not, richness is not what you have in your pocket. It is what you have in your mind.
Amazing. Amazing. We have another question from Douglas. And he says...
this guy is from US.
He says, how will one be able to make the emotional, mental, and fiscal transition to life without work?
Simple. I retired at the age of 45.
Okay.
That's number one. Because I wanted to do the things that I enjoyed doing. So I traveled the world. I joined World Vision. I was finance director, and I became global audit director, responsible for 95 countries. Now, come on, tell me. Every other day, I'm sleeping in a different hotel. I wake up, and I'm in a different city. My kingdom stretched from LA in the west to Auckland in the east, and from Scandinavia to South Africa. I mean, come on. What sort of kingdom? Is it? So you have to decide exactly what it is that fits your lifestyle. And remember that I served in the army before, and I left and I went and reinvented myself as a chartered accountant. Why chartered accountancy? Because I wanted to travel the world, and I wanted to earn money while I was traveling the world. Every country there are accountants.
True.
Okay, so I chose the profession that allows me to be paid everywhere I go and work. So you need to have that focus early in your life. I could have stayed in the Ghana army, even though the circumstances were not immediately, directly. Some of them I engineered it, other things caused it. But once the vision came, I knew exactly what it is that I wanted to do, and I made sure that I paid the price. I went back to university at the age of 31 and reinvented my life. So, Douglas, it's very, all those things you want to do. Once you have a vision and you have your direction and you are following it, all those things will fall into place.
That's nice. We have a comment by the Kwapon Ikufu, and she says, these days, the women are also working full-time. Men need to consciously make time to bond with their children. Mothers feed the children. It's not a reason children bond with them. It's also about making time and showing how much the children are valued. There has to be a balance between making money and showing affection and making time for the family.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I fed my children as well. There are certain meals in my home that only me I can cook. My children will say, we like the way daddy cooks it.
Yeah.
Because he cooks it the army way. No Fritos. You know. Yeah, so by that, yeah, it's true. But the point I'm trying to make there is that whoever, whether the mother or the father, there are women who also work who don't have time. They leave their children to mates.
True.
And the mates feed them. So it goes both ways. You need to have a balance. That you need to make sure that you need to know that your job, first and foremost, is not your career. Your job, first and foremost in life, is to take care of the children that God has given you, and present them as an offering to God. That is the first thing you do. Then all the other things will follow. You need money to feed them, yes, but that should be your first objective.
Nice. We also have a comment by Ellen Soa, and she says, those of us managing our businesses, we should be even more intentional about retirement.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And if you're managing your businesses, it's even probably easy for you because you don't have to do a serious transition.
Okay.
But the challenge with businesses is that a lot of our businesses we don't have exit strategies.
That's another session.
Yes, another session. See, so that we don't have exit strategies. I mean, I have a business. Okay, I have about 4 or 5 businesses, but thanks to the economic system in Ghana, I have closed most of them. The one that I keep doing is a life skills consultancy. But my children are not going to take that business.
Yeah.
So when I die, it will die with me. Yeah. But what it does is that it gives me income. It gives me things to do. I meet people. I travel the world. I get invited, and I do all those things. So what the Douglas was talking about, the physical, the psychological, and all those things, I get it from the work that I'm doing because that is a labor of love for which I will do for free. But I get paid for it.
True.
Satawale will sing for free. He gets paid. Yeah. Messi will play football for free. But he gets paid for it. And for retirement, that's where you want to be. You want to do the things that you do for free, but you get paid for it. And I can't say any more about that.
That's right.
Kofi Amankwa.
Yes. A question from Kofi Amankwa. He says, what are some practical ways of preparing for retirement? Pension schemes, investments? If yes, can we have some examples?
Boy, plenty. For me, the best retirement income you can have is real estate.
Okay.
Whatever you do, all my clients, the first thing I add in their portfolio, real estate.
Can you explain why?
You know, the law says that you should not charge more than 6 months rent. But even the lawyers who maintain the law, they are charging 2 years rent on their properties. So if you have a property, retirement, don't build one house, build one to live in, but build another one. And if you have a village, go and live in a village and build a one in Accra. Don't live in the one in Accra because you get more money from the one in Accra. All right?
That's true.
And then leave it to rent. Every 2 years, you come to Accra and collect your money. And then once you have the money, you can do whatever you like with it. You can build more houses, you can build more buildings, but rental property there's a shortage of rental property. So that alone, if you're able to do that and you're able to manage that, you only need maybe 1 or 2.
Okay.
And you can take care of all your financial needs. Then you can go into those pension schemes. There is personal pension you can pay for. If you are a self-employed person, you are allowed a certain percentage, which is tax deductible, to put into personal pension. So you can have the SNAIT, you can have this, you can have that. I advise you go for 3 pensions. Because the economic situation in the world, especially in this country, is going to be very difficult. You want to be in a situation where even no matter what happens to the economic situation, you can stand. That's why you need to have a portfolio. You need to have, you need to think about weight management rather than income generation. But it's such a broad topic that I can't deal with it in 5 minutes.
Sure. We have a comment by Ifo Abrahams, and she says, I like that richness is not what you have in your pocket, but what you have in your mind. Yeah, I think it's a very wonderful thing to say.
And I'll give you an example. 1996, I did a similar presentation at with World Vision Accra. I was then in Senegal, and I was then in Mauritania, I think, and I came down and I did it with them. And when I was talking, there were women. There are many people who listened to me and said, "This cannot happen. This cannot. This all these things are designed to say it's not possible." But I've lived them, so it's not theory. So these women were sitting right in front of the thing, and they could see from their faces that they didn't believe that they could even own land. I said, "I'll prove it to them." I took them to Kaswa. Those days, Kaswa land was 1 million cedis, old cedis.
So 100 Ghana cedis.
Yeah.
Wow.
I took them to Kaswa and I said, I'm going to prove to you that what I'm saying is possible.
Okay.
So we went and saw the chief there. And I said, don't buy one plot, buy at least 2 plots. They said, why? I said, so that when you want to build, you sell that second plot and you build. Okay? So you see, with one decision, you're already taking care of that aspect of it. So we went, and then they did that, and immediately they realized that it was possible. They said, we don't have the money. I said, don't worry. They waited, I said, pay a deposit. So they paid the deposit, 250, 25 cedis or something like that. And they got 2 plots of land, deed and everything. They started paying. 6 months later, they got pay rises. I said, hey, don't chop the money. Go and finish paying that thing. And from then on, this was 1996, 20-something years ago. And it changed. They became landlords overnight. So again, it is not so much that. There was another lady who came to my thing at 55 years old, and he said, oh, I want to do this, I want to do that, I want to do that. She was building a house, her house had not finished, and he wanted to do retirement, wanted to do nutrition for Kayaye at Kaneshi Market. One day I was having devotion, and the Lord asked me to go and see her. I went there and I said, Ma Georgie, take everything from your wardrobe. We are going to do an audit. The woman listened, oh. I said, every dress that you haven't worn for 3 years, put it to one side. 2 years and 1 year, put it on one side. The ones that you haven't worn for 2 years, go and sell them. He said, oh, teacher, why? I said, no, you want to build a house. You've done foundation. Let's do the thing. She sold them. Every dress has a hat, has a shoe, and a bag. Right? Change her lifestyle. Within a year, the building was. She had 5 years to go on retirement.
Wow.
When she finished, she said, when you go to the roof, I said, oh, go and sell your car. She said, oh, so I'm Namdadi. I said, go and sell your car. Namdadi for 1 year and make money the next 20 years. Which one do you like? So she sold the car. Then when the building was finished, she wanted to leave, and I said, no, rent it for 2 years. She got capital. Use the capital. Let's go to Kaneshi Market, buy a stall. By the time the 5th year she was supposed to go, she had a store. She was selling the things that she wanted to do. So within 5 years, with the right mentor, you can recover.
It's amazing. That's amazing. And so, Captain, so speaking about the other aspects of retirement, where you're given real life scenarios, right? So in this case, she was closer to retirement, and then you helped her get that done. What of other, those who have, maybe in the case that you gave in your submission, where a gentleman had very young kids, how did that happen? How, like, if you can expand more on such examples,
They are not under pressure of the 5-year lady who has to do everything quick, and he has to do everything at a higher price and have serious sacrifices. If you are young, you can spread the sacrifices. So it means that, like what I did, okay? You buy land, okay? You know you are going to build someday. So go and buy land far away and let the city. I bought land at Ashoma.
Okay.
In 1995. I was going to build the first mall in Ghana. All right? 44 plots. I lost it through because Ghana, But that was a vision. And it was what? It was 1 million cedis those days. Now that Lashoma land, if I still had it, how much is it? $40,000.
Wow.
I rest my case. So invest in those kind of things, start those kind of things, because eventually they will catch up with you. So don't worry, go and buy far away and let the city. Those days, Ashoma, my car broke down many times. Ashoma was a forest. Today, go and look at Ashoma. If it wasn't in that I live in a country such as so evil, in inverted commas, I'm building a community sports center and all those. I would have sold the land and made a lot of money.
Yeah.
And the judge had a title to the land, yet they took it from me.
That's sad. That's
another story. So, as long as you can protect it, okay, then I'll say that start early, because by means you will have to do it someday.
Sure.
When you do that, then it means that you are not actually going to use your money foolishly and go clubbing and go. I had fun, all right, but I always tell the young people, if I offer you an option to have fun at 25 at Kempinski, but go to Bahamas and have fun at 55, which one will you choose? Nobody has chosen Kempinski. Everybody will want to go to Bahamas.
Sure.
You know?
Sure.
So it means that holding back on gratification, do the things that are important. And when you look at the creation story, day 2 could not have been done without day 1. Day 4 could not have been done without day 1, 2, 3. And day 6, certainly when man was ready, could not have been done. Because God's plan was to provide everything that Adam needed. The birds in the sky, the fish in the sea, the animals in the land, the fauna on the land. Before he put Adam, so that Adam would not think about provision. This is why this book is called From Purpose to Peace and Prosperity.
Yeah.
Provision first, purpose first. But what have we done? When I do this teaching, the question I ask my audience, what keeps you awake at night? 99.9% visa, wife, health, promotion. That's what they think. Nobody talks about God's purpose. Yet we are here to fulfill God's purpose. That's the number one thing we are supposed to do.
Yeah.
And if you follow that and God is your partner, how can you fail?
It's amazing.
It's impossible.
Yeah.
You arrive at retirement knowing very well that you are on course. This is why my book is called His Purpose, My Destiny. We are here to fulfill, our destiny should be fulfilling God's purpose. That's the only reason why we are here.
Yeah.
That's the reason why God created us. And then through that, all other things are added to it. But if you miss that road and you chase different things, then you hit cul-de-sacs and you're going round and round and round and round and round. That's why retirement, I say retirement, if the life plan, is weak, retirement will expose you.
Wow. This has been very amazing. Very amazing. This has been a very amazing session. Trinity United Youth Fellowship is inviting everyone to the prayer bazaar. The information is on the screen. Viewers, it's been another interesting time here on Let's Talk About. We want to say a big thank you to you, our guest, Captain Andy Sam. Join us same time next week for another interesting and engaging topic. I have been your host, Stephen Atheduseisin. Thank you once again.
Thank you for having me too.
Thank you, Captain.